There's a lot of talk about the Jewish people's claim to the land of Israel. Do the Jews have the right to the land, or perhaps the Arabs do? Who came first? Who does the land belong to? It turns out that the land is ours not only because we've lived there forever, but really because God Almighty has chosen to give it to the Jewish people in the world's most popular book, in the Bible. Take a listen to how Ben Shapiro addresses this topic so beautifully. Here he goes.
All right. I'll preface my question by saying that I admire your work for a number of different reasons, and perhaps what I find most admirable about you is your strict sense of ethnic and religious identity as a Jew. Your Jewish background has clearly played a significant role in influencing or shaping the political, social, and cultural ideals and values that you have, as well as your support for Israel as a nation state. So, I'm wondering, Ben, do you support the classical definition of a nation as being demographically and culturally homogeneous, like that of Israel, similar to the definition that American forefathers generally upheld, with exceptions, of course, until the Hart-Celler Immigration Act of 1965?
Okay, so one, I want to correct a mischaracterization. You said that I take a lot of pride in my ethnic and religious identity. I take no pride in my ethnic identity. I take a lot of pride in my religious identity. So there are a lot of people who have been born Jews who I just don't care about. Right? Like Noam Chomsky was born Jewish. He's a schmuck. Like I don't care at all. Bernie Sanders, born Jewish, schmuck. Like I don't. So the point that I'm making is that religious identity is a different thing because that's a set of ideas and values. Religion is creedal, and in the same way the American Declaration of Independence is creedal. So when it comes to the definition of a nation, I would say that it is very important that a nation have a creed in common. I'm not particularly interested in having an ethnicity in common. When they say that Israel, for example, is ethnically homogenous, that's just not true. Israel is filled with Russian Jews and Ethiopian Jews and Yemeni Jews. My wife is a Moroccan Jew. So just because they all have a religion in common doesn't make them ethnically identical by any stretch of the imagination. Right? Again, it's pretty hard to find somebody who's more ethnically non-identical than a Russian Jew and an Ethiopian Jew. So the reason that I believe in Israel as a nation state is not for ethnic reasons. It's because of religious observance reasons, that Israel is a place where the religion of Judaism can thrive and be safe, which I think is an important thing. And I think the same thing is true in the United States when it comes to the creed of the United States. I think America is a creedal country. I think it's what has made America great. Now, that's not to say that everybody who comes into the country has an equal capacity to assimilate to that creed. The assimilation capacity of people, I don't think, has to do much with ethnic identity. I think it does have to do with cultural identity. I think there are cultures that come into the country, people who come from various cultures, who may not be as easily able to assimilate, because obviously that's just the case. I mean, there are people who come in and they already know English. There are people who come in and they've already had a history with Western democracy. There are people who come in and they've never seen a gay person before, and in their old country, gay people were caned and killed. So it's important to recognize that cultures are not the same thing as ethnicities. And I think it's a dangerous game to play when we say that that ethnicity means culture when they clearly do not mean anything of the sort.
Beautifully stated. Jews are an identity. We are not an ethnicity. And this is the reason why even a Jew from Australia or New Zealand that's never visited Israel before, or a Jew from Buenos Aires or even Alaska, has every claim to the land of Israel, not because they lived there, not because their grandparents lived there or were farmers there 500 or 700 years ago. No. The reason is because God Almighty chose the descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the Jewish people. Lezaracha etein et haaretz hazot, to your descendants shall I give this land. It is only because we are a religion of Jewish people that we have the right to the land of Israel. It's not only because of our history, it's because of our identity as Jewish people. You see, to be a Jew is not an elective. It's not like in Catholicism where you might become a lapsed Catholic if you stop observing the customs and the culture of Catholicism. Or in Islam, if you don't observe the laws of Islam, I believe that you are no longer considered a Muslim. But in Judaism, no matter what you observe or don't, no matter what you believe or don't believe, you are always a Jew. A Jew is always a Jew, and that can never be changed. Once you're a Jew, you can never convert out of Judaism. So even though as Jews, we don't We don't try to convert anybody to become a Jew. We don't have this insecurity. We don't suffer from a lack of self-esteem that we feel that everybody else has to be like us in order for us to believe in ourselves. That if somebody else is believing in some other religion, therefore there's got to be something wrong with our faith. No, we're not like that at all. We're perfectly fine with the live and let live doctrine. Everybody should mind their own business, and we don't need them to be like us. But when somebody does convert to Judaism, they are Jews for all intents and purposes, and they can never convert out of Judaism. And that's why I disagree with something that Ben Shapiro just said about Noam Chomsky and some other Jews that he tends to disagree with. Just because a Jew disagrees with you, Ben, it doesn't mean that they are no longer a Jew. That actually runs contrary to your own points. Because when a Jew is a Jew, that is regardless of what they observe or what they believe. Even if their positions are directly opposed to their own values as Jews, it doesn't detract from their identity as Jews. And therefore, just like a Jew from Alaska or Russia has every claim to the land of Israel as a descendant of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, so too a Jew that does not observe Judaism and a Jew that might not even believe in the values of the Torah still has a claim to the land of Israel just by virtue of the fact that they are a Jew. Remember, it was God Almighty who gave us this land in the Bible, which is the world's most popular book, most printed book in history. The Bible is our title deed. Therefore, for a Jew to lay claim to the land of Israel is essentially for a Jew to declare that he believes in God Almighty, whether he admits it or not. Now, the nations of the world respect the right of the Jewish people to the land of Israel. The big question is, do the Jews themselves respect their own right to the land of Israel? Do the Jews themselves respect their own value as stated so clearly and so many times in the Torah? The time has come for us to declare who we are and to rise